So thanks for coming out and hanging with us on this live broadcast tonight. We're broadcasting live from Chicago this evening where it's very cold. We know we have a lot of brothers and sisters on the East Coast still buried in snow, and a bunch of people we no longer want to associate with living in California where it's warm and sunny. So to everyone on the coasts and in the Midwest and all across the globe joining us this evening via the internet, welcome to our cool sort of impromptu live broadcast in the spirit of our brand new I'm a Songwriter hashtag. So Toontrack, as you know, is a manufacturer of software production tools. We make things for musicians that help making music easier. And with that agenda, we have recently launched sort of a brand new, it's kind of, I don't want to call it a marketing campaign, but it's sort of a brand new focus for us. And it is hashtag I'm a Songwriter. And ultimately what we're trying to do tonight in honor of that is give you some ideas, give you some insight, give you some tips into using our tools to help you write your music. So here's how tonight's going to work. We don't know. We've never done this. So this is a first for us and you. So thanks for being there with us for the support. There could be technical difficulties. The computer could crash. Things could blow up. Things could go south. I could forget what to say. I could cuss insanely, which is more than likely. But no matter what happens, we're just going to keep rolling. We're going to kind of keep it easy, as they say, easy keel, so that we just keep moving forward and have a great time. So a couple of things about tonight's broadcast. It's not going to be super long. We're going to talk about two very specific songwriting techniques that utilize three of our programs. We're going to be working with EZdrummer 2, we're going to be working with EZkeys, and we're going to be working with our EZmix software. So basically our entire EZ line. And again, that particular line of software was created with songwriters in mind. So hopefully tonight you'll see some things, hear some things, witness some things, and be a part of this as well. You can ask us questions throughout the event live using hashtag I'm a Songwriter. So again, feel free during any particular point in time of the broadcast to ask me something. Be kind and we'll be kind back. So let's just jump in right now. Let's get kind of a feel for what we're doing and where we're going to start. And the first thing I want to point out is, again, I'm using a pretty standard iMac. Working in Pro Tools this evening is my DAW of choice. And I have preloaded in my Pro Tools session EZdrummer 2, EZkeys, EZmix, and then our other software, BeatStation, which is kind of just playing a supporting role tonight. But if you have any questions or we need to talk about that, we can as well. So before I get started, let me just make sure you understand where we're kind of coming from with tonight's broadcast from a technique standpoint. Songwriting is a very personal affair, and there is no right or wrong way to accomplish the task of songwriting. It really is about finding the tools and the inspiration that fuel your creativity. And for a lot of people, that's an acoustic piano and, a pad of paper. For some people, it's a guitar and a tape recorder. A lot of people use computers and virtual instruments. I mean, the combination and gauntlet of opportunity to capture and create song is limitless. So what we're going to show you tonight are two approaches to writing with our tools that I actually use. And the reason I'm showing you these is because it's really the only thing I'm educated enough to talk about. Again, the songwriting process is very personal. So here's two different ways that I approach writing music. And we're going to start with one that's really basic and actually, quite honestly, has a completely different result, yields a different result every time you use it. So let's jump into Pro Tools and let's take a look at what we've got. Let's get familiar with the screen here. So on this side, I've got my mixer window split and then I have my track window here. You can see that I have EZdrummer 2. I have a drum bus that I've set up that we'll talk about a little bit later. I have EZkeys, and then I have BeatStation, and then I have a master fader. So it's a pretty basic setup. And I would use this setup basically to inspire myself to write something new. Now, the first step for me would always be I'm going to open EZdrummer and I'm going to take a look at EZdrummer. Let's move it over here. In EZdrummer 2, I have our brand new Made of Metal EZX library recorded by Colin Richardson. And I have one of our presets, the Supra Star kit. So you can actually go in if you wanted to and change the drums. I think everybody's pretty familiar with how EZdrummer 2 works at this point in time. But from a songwriting standpoint, I just generally go into the browser and I have very, very limited resources. I don't have every MIDI pack, which is probably very similar to a lot of you out there. You would think, again, working for Toontrack, everything that our company manufactures, I would have loaded into this session. But the idea is to give you a real world example of how to use this particular technique. So again, the first thing I would generally do is I would open one of the MIDI packs. And let me open the Made of Metal MIDI pack. You can see that we've got all these MIDI grooves. I'm just going to go to a pre-chorus. Let me play it. That didn't really inspire me. But it really is that simple to go to something that might. Now that's pretty cool. So I'm going to take that. Let me stop that. And actually, it's a good point in the conversation to note that once you have one of our virtual instruments open in the DAW, it is linked to your DAW's timeline and transport features. So for instance, if you're used to working in EZdrummer in standalone mode, you would set the tempo and control all of that down here, and it would actually be exclusive to itself. It would be whatever you set it at. You can see that our tempo for the session is 120, so we're locked to 120, and when I drag something down to the timeline here, it's going to sync with my timeline right here in Pro Tools. They're locked together. Pretty cool. So that's awesome. So this is where I started. I just dragged a groove to the timeline, and I'm just going to go and randomly drag, and I'm not even going to listen to it, another groove down. Fantastic. These are my two grooves. Now I'm going to loop those. I'm going to close EZdrummer. So EZdrummer's playing those grooves now. Now I'm going to open EZkeys. Stop it, and I'm going to do the exact same thing. Now I only have in my EZkeys library, let me actually click out of here, I'm using our new vintage upright library, which is fantastic, and each one of our EZkeys libraries can be bought or sold standalone, meaning you don't have to have any other versions of EZkeys to buy whichever library you want. If all you want is the vintage upright, clearly you could just buy that and everything will function and work just fine. Every version of EZkeys comes with MIDI that's similar, actually same. So you can go in and you can just grab different components. So in this instance, I'm going to grab this chorus section from our pop rock area, and then let's see. Let me just grab another one here. Let me just grab a bridge. Okay? Now these are a little bit longer than the grooves, or maybe they're exactly the same that I have in EZdrummer. But I've basically just populated two timelines, and let's hear the result. Folks, I hate to break it to you, but we just made music. It was literally that simple. And while we're talking about making music, one of the great things about working with our virtual instruments is that all of these performances, these MIDI grooves, all of the drums, all of the keyboards, everything is royalty free. So anything you're creating at this particular point in time, you own. It's your song. Not only do you not have to pay us or worry about licensing it, but it's completely and thoroughly adaptable to what you want to do. Now again, we simply dragged a groove into EZdrummer 2, we dragged it into the timeline, and we dragged two random piano performances into EZkeys, and we came up with now, watching us do this is as easy as doing it yourself. And I want to point out too, while we're talking about this, we have an instance of EZmix on our EZkeys channel. Right now I have that piano going through a piano compressor, so let me solo this here. Bypass that. You can hear that it's just adding a little lift. There's a limiter in there, and again, that's the ease of EZmix. You just go in, find what you're looking for, click on it. You have two controls. They're different for every component, by the way. We can join our song in progress. Oh. This is fantastic. Now, what's amazing about these tools is if you were looking for a jumping off point, you just have it right there. Between the groove and the piano riff, we literally had a song structure or something that we could start to modify up and running in less than a minute. So if we wanted to go in and start to work with this a little bit more, certainly we could do that. And in this particular exercise, and for these examples, we're really not going to concentrate too much on making everything lock together and custom crafting the particular beat or melody line. We really just want to show how quickly you can actually get into making music. And again, if you missed what we did, let's try it again. Let's remove the MIDI from the timeline there, and then let's open EZkeys and do the same thing. So let's say that you were busy doing something else and somehow you missed my fantastic demonstration. Not a problem. Not a problem at all. We got you covered. Let's show you one more time. So we have the drums open in EZdrummer 2. We're using a preset kit from the Made of Metal EZX expansion library that came out this past November. We're going to go into our MIDI browser, which is where all of the MIDI for all of our program lives. So all of the stuff that comes standard with EZdrummer 2, plus all the MIDI that would be available for whatever EZX libraries we have loaded. So in this case, let's go to the EZdrummer 2 modern library MIDI. And this is the MIDI that ships directly to you when you buy EZdrummer 2, comes with it. So it's fantastic. You can see we've got ballad, halftime, mid-tempo, up-tempo. Let's find something up-tempo. And again, we're not even going to listen. Let's just drag it down. And then let's go to a completely other category. We can go, we don't want swing. Nobody wants that. Let's come to a pre-chorus. And let's just grab this third variation. Now it's obviously a little bit shorter than the first one, but we put those two together. We can loop this and adjust it. Fantastic. We're not going to listen to it. Now let's go back into EZkeys and let's do the same thing. We're in our MIDI library, and again, you would get there by just hitting the browser button. So once you're in, we see, oh, rock ballad pre-chorus. That's never a bad thing. So let's drag that down, okay? And then let's go, oh, gospel. No, gospel? I heard someone out there on the internet say gospel. So funky halftime gospel? We actually do have that. And let's drag that down. Now again, this is going to be longer than the groove we programmed, but we're talking about inspiration tonight. Let's hear what we just did. We literally just dragged a couple of MIDI grooves down to our programs. Let's hit play. And that's the beauty of the blind drag and drop. You're going to get happy, wonderful accidents. And again, there are people in the world that use virtual instruments on a regular basis that would program something very similar to what we just did, and it would take them maybe a few hours. That took us literally less than 5 minutes. Now I want to show you a little secret. This is a little Rikk secret from the Toontrack universe. So let's say we really, really enjoy that happy accident, which is kind of cool, and we want to make it more of a complete rhythm section. You'll notice on this track, I have another one of our programs called BeatStation. And without getting into a long dissertation on how awesome BeatStation is, we're just going to use it for a real primary function, and that's to create a bass line. Now, BeatStation isn't something you can sequence inside of. There's no song track like we have inside of EZkeys or EZdrummer. So you'll actually have to use your DAW's piano roll editor to do this, but it's fairly simple. So what I'm going to do is the old Rikk Currence BeatStation workaround. I'm going to take this MIDI groove that we've got on the timeline of EZkeys, pretty simple, and I'm going to drag it to the timeline in the DAW. Now notice I didn't lose it when I dragged it. It's still in EZkeys. Now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to drag this all the way to the beginning so it lines up. Now, the reason I did that was so that I have all of these notes accessible to me. But I'm going to show you what I'm about to do. And again, we're going to do it fairly quickly. Here's what the piano information, by the way, from EZkeys looks like. There's a lot of information. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lasso all of this stuff up here, let's say. I'm going to delete it because I'm trying to create a bass line. Now you'll notice I've got some spots and some pockets. There's going to be some happy accidents, and it takes a little bit of time to get things moving in a way that you're really going to like. But you can then take all of what's left, and you can make sure that you move it down to our bass instrument. We have a bass instrument loaded in BeatStation, right? So close that, I'll show it to you. So in BeatStation, you've got these two split keyboards that correspond to your MIDI piano roll editor. And down at the bottom, you can load a bass. And I actually have two basses loaded. But now, when we play our track, we have some semblance of bass. Now, of course, it's not perfect, not even close. But within 15 minutes, we could have a bass line sussed out from the lower note tracks of our EZkeys MIDI, which is kind of a nice secret to getting a complete production pretty quickly. So I really wish at this particular point in time, there was a lot more that we could talk about. and it would be so in depth, and there'd be so many bells and whistles and knobs and frequencies and other words that audiophiles love. But it's EZdrummer too. It's EZkeys and it's EZmix. The whole point isn't to obsess over the details with these programs. The whole point is to literally do what we just did. Create music out of thin air. Give yourself as a writer, give yourself as an artist a place to start, inspiration. And this particular process requires little to no effort whatsoever on your part technically. You don't have to worry about knobs, buttons, pushing things, arming things, loading things, adding things. You don't even have to do this last little component that I was showing you to work with BeatStation. That was kind of an aside. Between EZdrummer 2 and EZkeys, you can start creating music instantly. Music you can work with, music you can modify, music you can bring into whatever form you want to and start to mold and shape. Let me give you an example. So in EZdrummer, obviously we have our MIDI grooves. There's a number of things we can do here. Without, again, getting too technical, we can just grab the MIDI groove we have and look for a drum fill and just drag the drum fill down and then drag our groove back to where we wanted it. We just added a drum fill. It's pretty easy. Pretty fantastic. We have no idea how it sounds, but that's part of the fun. You know, there's some other cool features too that are set up really to accommodate that. We'll get to those in a minute. Same thing with EZkeys. We're here in our chord progression. Now, EZkeys is telling us we're in D major, but we could change the entire thing to C. We could actually change the entire thing to G. We could change, can you guess if we can change? We can do all of this stuff. And we can go from major to minor with the flick of a button. Now, as I'm pushing these buttons here, watch the chords above. So major, minor, E, C. Things are changing very simply. You didn't have to do anything, right? But let's just go back to D. Well, not F major. We'll go to D. All right, so in this particular progression, we can go in and we can dress up any chord we like to. We can change that A to a D. We can change that G to an F sharp minor, which is going to sound horrible, but we're going to put it in there because we don't care. The idea is to experiment and have fun. And then we could start the whole thing off right now with a completely different chord. Let's lift it from the beginning. Let's see now what it sounds like. All right. And as if that wasn't simple enough, as if just working with this MIDI and changing things around in real time to suit your needs wasn't easy enough, you can go in and actually we have a function. So if you right click on this particular MIDI block, we have a function called randomize chords, which does exactly what you think it does. It's going to take the chords in the structure that you have highlighted. It's going to look at the key that you're in, and it's just going to randomize the chords. It's really simple. It's a really, really cool feature. Randomize those. Let's see. Let's randomize some chords again. Oh, here we go again. New song. That's funky. Same thing with EZdrummer. We can go in and we can quantize, right? We can change the tempo. We can actually take particular components of the groove out if we want to. But we're going to talk a little bit about that more in our next segment. So right here, right now, in a few short minutes, aside from all my yammering, we've been able to take EZdrummer 2 and EZkeys, along with our great kind of jack-of-all-trades plugin EZmix 2, and create a song. By the way, I have EZmix 2 also armed on this bus right here next to EZdrummer, and you can see that I have the drums actually leaving and going to this bus as well. I have kind of a cool little bus trick that I kind of do sometimes. And you know, again, if you're looking for something to use in EZmix 2, it's very simple. We're going to be working with drums, right? And we want to come in and we're looking for, let's say, a group bus. Really simple. And while you're filtering your search, obviously what's left over is going to show down here. So you could just click on drum bus and you see that this particular signal chain is going to have a number of components in it, and it's going to give you control over the EQ shape and the parallel tape volume. So I'm going to crank that a little bit and pull it back. So let's just listen to our drums as I kind of bring in this instance of EZmix. So here it is without it. And then I'm going to start bringing it in. Not bad. A little life to what we're doing. that I have an instance of EZmix strapped across the master bus. And two of my favorite expansion packs for EZmix 2 are our mastering packs. And I can see crossed eyes and smoke from the brow of audiophiles worldwide that we would ever use the words EZmix and mastering. And I get it. Mastering's a black art, and it's a respectable and very, very, very complicated black art at that. No doubt about it. And real mastering engineers and real mastering labs are crucial and critical to the process of making and manufacturing music, bar none. But I'm not doing any of that tonight. I'm writing songs, and I want them to sound good in real time, because I, just like you, live in an instant gratification culture, and I don't want to have to wait for my inspiration to materialize 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks later, especially when I have the tools that can make it happen right now in real time. So I've strapped this basic master preset from our mastering pack across the master channel just to give a little more focus and clarity to what I'm doing while I'm writing. Here's what it sounds like with and without. So right now, let's go ahead and we'll bypass it. Let's play the track again. Without. With. Now, is that particular voila moment, does that mean that what I'm doing now is just ready to be pressed, put out for iTunes, put out on a record? Of course not. But what it does mean, and what it does prove, is that you do get a better, clearer, more definable, more listenable, more enjoyable signal from your work in real time. And I don't think you can put a price on that. Couple that with the fact that for this example, we're really trying to use tools and things the way normal folks do. A lot of times, even when we do demos, we have gear that most people don't have in their homes. You're looking at a stock iMac with no sound card at all. We're not using anything hyped up. There's no brilliant A to D conversion, no monitor controller. I'm listening to the regular speakers just like someone who would get home from a long day at work, sit home, want to write some music, and just kind of drift away into the evening. So again, EZmix 2, in conjunction with our other writing tools, EZkeys and EZdrummer 2, can really help you bring ideas out of nowhere. That's one way to use the programs, to start from zero and go to something cool and unique in a few minutes and be inspired that way. But my favorite component in the way that I write, and as I'm talking to you, I'm saving and closing this session to open a new session, isn't that way all the time. Sometimes I do that. Sometimes when I know I want to make music, but I'm too lazy to actually pick up an instrument that I play, I will go to my computer, open that template. It's my template. That's why it was so easy to open, and just sort of work on things that way, see if I find something inspiring. But a lot of times, I'm already inspired. A lot of times I have a piece of music. I'm checking our tweets while I'm talking to you and scratching my shoulder. I'm multitasking. I have a piece of music that I have played, that I have performed, that I have written out, that in my mind I have ideas for. And a lot of times, trying to get a virtual instrument to shape to an already existing idea is really complicated, especially if you're not very familiar with how that instrument works in its entirety. So, let's go to the second style of writing we want to talk about tonight. And again, just a reminder, hashtag I'm a songwriter. If you have questions, concerns, comments, insults, congratulations on what a great job I'm doing. However you see fit, just send them our way. Okay, so here I have a track that I'm actually working on right now. And what I've done is very simple. I had a guitar riff, like very many people that play guitar, sitting on the couch, watching TV, playing guitar, come up with a riff, lock it in my brain, start to develop ideas around the riff, and then keep telling myself, you need to record that riff, you need to record that riff, you need to record that riff. So I did. I came to the studio, I recorded the riff, and I recorded it dry. I didn't use an amp, I didn't use an amp sim, I didn't plug everything up. I basically opened a Pro Tools template that I have that you're gonna see in a minute, and I recorded this guitar riff, and then I recorded the accompanying guitar rhythm parts for it. So very basically, I have a click track, and then I have my guitar part. I have nothing else. And that's really how not only I work, but a lot of other people work in this day and age as well. If you play a melody instrument, if you're a piano player, a guitar player, a violin player, a bass player, if you play something that isn't percussive or rhythmic driven, a lot of times you will record or work on your idea without the aid of rhythm. And it can be very liberating because then it gives you lots of options afterwards. So I would caution you to one strong component of this particular process, at least for me I know, is always, 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 if you're not going to record to a live drummer, which is preferable, or EZdrummer 2, which is also preferable, if you're not going to use one of those two things when recording, always record to a click track. I know that sounds like common knowledge, but you would probably be surprised how many folks forget and then try and do what we're about to do and get very frustrated because it doesn't work as easily or as efficiently. So now that I've said all that, and now that I've slowed things down by showing you with my hand gestures that we're going to move into a new phase of the live broadcast, let's go back to Pro Tools and let's look at this session and listen to a couple of things and try and work on my musical vision as a team. All right, so here we are in another Pro Tools session, and there are some components that are similar. You'll notice that I have a click track. I have it muted at the moment. I have EZdrummer with the same setup from my writing template. I also have EZkeys, and I have BeatStation, the master channel again. But then I have a couple of audio tracks and a guitar bus that I've created. So in this example, what you're seeing here on my screen, so my mixer and my sequencer here, what you're seeing is my guitar track, and it's raw, recorded direct. So a lot of people ask, what's the best way to record direct? And I say, that's really up to you as the player. The best way to do anything musically is the way that is most comfortable and rewarding for you. And anyone that tells you otherwise is not so intelligent. So let's listen to this guitar part. I'm going to make sure everything else is muted. I don't have anything else, I believe, on these tracks. But so this is my guitar part. You can see if you're familiar with Pro Tools and you want to follow along the top, I have also color-coded the different components of the song. I do that for myself so I know where I am when I'm working. And it corresponds, obviously, to a different song structure. So here's my guitar part. We'll just listen to a little bit of it. Turn the click on, make sure it's in time. Okay, so that's a little intro part. It's actually the chorus riff as well. Let me just show you really quickly what we're dealing with as far as guitars go. I'll solo them instantly. So you have this lead part here that drives the track, right? Then I have this other rhythm part. This is my Jesse's Girl part, very crucial. Then I have another rhythm part. And again, all together. Now, in my mind, I have a groove that I think will work. So, before I start doing anything else, I think that it's a crucial process for me to start to put some drums to this. So let me kind of explode this out a little bit so we can see where we're at. You can see that even though there's this slide here, the track starts right here where the rhythm would actually come in. So since I know what kind of groove I'm looking for, there's a couple of ways I can get it in this instance. Now again, remember my timeline is going to be locked to what we've got going on here. Locked to Pro Tools. I'm at 126 BPM, 126 BPM, everything's fantastic. I'm using a different preset, and I have it muted so you can't hear it because I think that's what makes live broadcasts interesting, you not being able to hear anything I'm talking about. So, okay. Okay, so this is the black on blue preset, again, made out of metal. Made out of metal. That was very proper of me. It's made of metal, but you could also say that it is made out of metal. So I could go to the browser and I could do what we did in our last example and I could start just going through grooves, looking for things, right? That's one way to do it and it's an effective way. But I have, as a writer, a groove in my mind already that I'd like to see if I have MIDI for. So I'm going to use the tap to find function in EZdrummer 2. So I'm going to go into tap to find. And again, a click track's going to start. Okay, it's got my tempo. And I know I'm looking for like a... Notice it cleaned them up. Right? Not bad. That's kind of what I'm looking for. So let me see what kind of results I've got. So the minute I hit search results, it's going to go through my MIDI library. It's going to go through everything I have, and in some instances, even some stuff I don't have, and tell me that I need to buy it. But for now, let's work with the stuff I have. Right here, the first one that comes up in my search says it's a 97% match to what I'm looking for. So if I hit play, perfect. Quite honestly, that's exactly what I'm looking for. So I'm going to drag that down to my timeline. So let's make sure that it's lined up. Very cool. And again, I had a beat in mind. I didn't really have to have any drumming skills whatsoever. Tap to find did everything for me. Now, of course, I can keep going, and there's other versions. That's kind of cool too. But let's focus on the one we have because I think it has a lot of promise. I'm going to loop this. I'm going to bring it back to the beginning. And again, I've got my guitar riff playing. I want to move Pro Tools cursor here so we don't have to listen to the whole time. And right here, I want to add a cymbal hit. So what I want to do is I'm actually going to make this 2 grooves because I might want to change this up a little bit altogether. So one of the really cool features of EZdrummer 2, again, aside from tap to find, which just saved me a whole bunch of time in not only looking for the groove, but saved me from having to program or modify something that may not have sounded as good. We have our edit play style function, and ultimately edit play style is available inside the EZdrummer 2 interface, and it's a common mistake people are making. You know, EZdrummer, EZkeys, our Easy products are all drag and drop. So I can take this MIDI and drag it straight to my timeline now, and it'll be ready to go. What I sacrifice by doing that too early is not allowing me to work with some of the other unique features that are only available inside the program. So now that I've made sort of this beginning drum groove 2 grooves, I'm going to double click on the second groove, and I want to add some things. So what you're seeing right now is the visualization of everything that's going on in my groove: snare, hi-hat, kick drum, very basic. I want to add an opening hit, which is going to be a crash, but I want it to be a China, which is cool. And then, yeah, I want it to be the crash. I have all the articulations. I can actually turn the velocity up on that. And I want to add something. Right now, there's no floor tom in the groove. It's being led by the hi-hat. I'm going to take the power hand, which is actually the lead instrument that the drummer would play. So if he's a right-handed drummer, which he is in this instance, it's going to be his right hand. I'm going to move that over to the floor tom because I'd like the second part of the chorus to have sort of a ridden floor tom. Now, let me go back to the beginning here, and let's play my newly updated groove. This plays just like we originally pulled it in, which is great. And voila. Now we have something that I think is a little more appropriate for what I want to do. Now I have a loop going, which is why it keeps coming back to the same groove, which is actually not a bad songwriting function either. So as you can see, we took something really simple and made it work with something we had in our mind. There are very few virtual instruments, if any, outside of EZdrummer 2 and EZkeys that allow you to take the instrument, the virtual instrument, and make it work to your music without sitting down and playing or performing. Certainly you could have achieved these results with an E-kit or a MIDI controller piano. You could have played things in if you wanted to, but ultimately, all you're doing at this particular point in time is going in and allowing your mind to dictate what you're looking for and letting the software figure out ways to make it work. It makes the writing process very efficient and very enjoyable. And again, you're getting world-class sound, you've got world-class playing and grooves. Again, our MIDI libraries aren't programmed, they're played by real human beings, in many instances some of the world's top drummers. So you ultimately have, in EZdrummer 2, world-class recording environments, world-class producers that have made drums sound good in those environments, and not sample producers, not people that spend their time just doing sample libraries. That's what Toontrack does. But every time we actually go record a library, we're only there to capture the sound. The sounds that are obtained and the sounds that are actually put into play are done by producers. In many instances, producers that have sold millions, and in some cases, over 100 million albums. People that know what drums are supposed to sound like. So it's not us trying to give you our idea of what we think your drums should sound like. It's people that have worked with the greatest and biggest names in the music industry across multiple genres, doing exactly what they did on those albums and in those sessions, creating great drum sounds for great artists. So you have all these things working for you, and all you literally have to do is know a few moves inside and outside of the software to have access to all of these things. Something else really cool. Let's go back to our original example here. We've got this groove that I kind of dig now for the intro. Let me line it up here. Got Pro Tools lined up. I'm going to loop it again. You can come into your mixer page and actually start tweaking the sounds as well. Now again, we have a preset kit loaded, black on blue. And when you go to the mixer page, you have obviously a mixer. That's why we call it the mixer page, in case you're wondering. But you also see that you have some compression and some reverb. By clicking on one of these two boxes, you get to see what channels these are affecting. So as you're writing your music, you know that if you turn the compression up, it's going to be affecting the ambient mono, and the drum compressor. If you turn the reverb up, it's going to be affecting this reverb channel, which actually happens to have a fader, so you can turn it up even more. Let me give you an example. Turn your compression up, smash things a little. Now, to go along with what I just did, I feel like I want to fill at the end here. So if I go back into my browser, I can search fills, like we talked about, by clicking on anything that says fill, and I can audition fills. I could tap to find a fill. I could try and play a janky fill, and that would be kind of embarrassing for all of us. The easiest thing to do is to take this groove right here and open the Song Creator. The Song Creator is a very cool feature in EZdrummer too. Simply drag this in, and it analyzes your MIDI and comes up with other components in the same feel and style. So for instance, all of these fills now, you can audition them, are compatible with your groove. So if you want to add a fill, I could simply just dial that back, dial it back a little more, and bring this in, and now we have, okay, so we're playing. Maybe we just wanted that end part. We could just cut it down. We can do all kinds of stuff. We have the technology. Now that's kind of cool. Again, because I have this looped, as it gets to the end of the figure, it's going to just keep playing over every single other component of the song as it's written. So you can actually audition the same grooves from your chorus for other components in the song, which is kind of cool. If I unloop that and we get here, see, it stops playing. But we know there some other stuff comes in. We could literally, now we could trust to see what it does for us. And we come here, let's hear what it does for us. And we could go on and on and on and on. Again, I can't tell you how empowering this really is as a songwriter and as an artist to be able to find something that can unlock what you're hearing in your head with just a few keystrokes is an incredible, incredible, incredible thing. Hopefully, if you're watching this and you're a Toontrack user, you've experienced that feeling too and you know exactly what I'm talking about. So let's just kind of look at things a little objectively here. So we've got our intro, we've got kind of this first one thing, it's great. We know we have a number of grooves that we can sort of line up. If we wanted to, we could just load an entire structure. If our song happened to be in the same sort of standard structure as any of these templates, we could simply load, for instance, A, B, A, B, which is a very common song structure, an entire song onto our timeline, and the whole thing would be done already. But we don't want to do that. We've got ideas. We're thinking. The other cool thing that we have going for us, let's close the Song Creator, is aside from the mixer, aside from being able to search or tap for anything else we want, while the drums are playing, we can audition other drum kits, other things, other options we may have. For instance, even in my Made of Metal, there are, velvet tone. Let's load that. A little tighter. Right? And we can go so on and so forth. We could get completely and thoroughly really crazy and say, you know what, I like velvet tone, but maybe I'm gonna go to reggae. Maybe reggae is what we need. Maybe we need the original mix from the reggae kit. Oh, reggae has entered the building. What does that sound like, you ask? And it's funny because it's completely changed my idea for what the song could sound like. And that's the beauty of having these kinds of options. In my mind, I hear a drum beat. In my mind, I hear a number of things that I think the song needs, requires, must have. But the reality is the minute I'm exposed to something sonically that's different, I'm inspired in another direction, and it's going to change all the other decisions I make. That's pretty cool. That's empowering. And the fact that I don't have to go through a number of different hurdles to get there. I don't have to plug this in, unplug that, take that, scroll here, put it on the back, call my wife, tell her I'll be home late, say a prayer, get a bank loan. I don't have to do any of those things. I can just click through some presets in the software and let the software do the work. It's phenomenal. So let's actually, for the sake of argument though, and for the sake of rock and roll, let's go back to my original kit and let's start to take on another component of this. Obviously, we could do the drum thing, we get it. You can work with drum tracks easily, make things happen quickly. Let's actually start to kind of jump over one though. Let's go to guitar tones because, you know, one of the really cool features of EZmix 2 is the inclusion of amp modeling. Now, there are tons and tons and tons of digital amp models on the market, and that's awesome. There are some amazing digital amp models on the market, and that's awesome too. EZmix 2 is one of those amazing digital amp models. And you might be asking yourself, why did you put amp models in a program that you're calling EZmix 2? And as fate would have it, I have an answer for you. And it's pretty simple, actually. For many, many years, many decades, many eons, engineers, producers, and mix artists know that sometimes the only way to get the perfect mix is to reamp a guitar. And the process of reamping, which most of you probably get and understand, has become so commonplace that we forget that for a very long time it was a dark secret. Nobody knew how they did it. But reamping ultimately, prior to the digital revolution, required a dry signal from a guitar to be played back through a mixing console or out through a mixing console to a live amp in another part of the studio or in another room with a microphone to be mic'd and reamped, hence the term, back onto the tape. Mixing has changed from a tool standpoint, but from a philosophy, because that's what it is, it's from a philosophy. From a philosophical standpoint, using amps with a dry signal and blending mixes is still very, very much something that happens on most records that are made today. So the inclusion of amp modeling in EZmix 2 is to service that need during your mix. So again, as we change our drum sounds instantly, if you have a guitar that's been recorded with the effect or with the amp direct, that's the sound it's locked into, unless you're going to start to use EQ and some very creative effects, which is you can and is great. But a lot of times you want options. You want the guitar tone and the drum tone to work against the singer's voice or so that the bass cuts more. You want the flexibility to scroll through things and hear them in real time. And EZmix 2 is going to allow us to do that. So let's come back to our little lead riff here. We've got our drums. Let me make sure the drums are looped. They are looped. Fantastic. So we're just going to play this. And what I'm going to do is on this track, I've got it. I'm going to mute the other guitar tracks. I'm going to turn on EZmix and just start to scroll through some amps and see if there's anything we find that we think sounds good, anything that we're really kind of looking for. So here we go. That's the dry signal. So I'm going to come over to guitars, amplifier, and here we go. Now what's interesting is we moved on to a different part of the track because, you know, sometimes I'm not paying attention. So let me actually go into my, my jobber here and do that whole thing. Now we should stay in the same place. Okay, back to listening to amps. Metal. Nice. Pull the gain back a little. Now, I kind of dig that. So now I can introduce this other guitar, and I can try and either use the same preset, or I can look for something that either cuts through or complements in a different way. So now I've introduced the second rhythm guitar. And what it's doing is Rick Springfielding. It's Jesse's girling right here. It's fantastic. So let's listen. Okay, I kind of dig that. So now, so the loop doesn't drive us crazy, let's just listen to our two guitar tracks. Let's just take a minute to remember that when we started, when we came into this session, we had some direct guitar tracks, no drums, no groove, some ideas, and we're wide open from a tone standpoint. And within 15, 20 minutes, we kind of have some sound wrangled in that we really dig, and we've also had the chance to experiment with a number of other things. I'm going to find one more guitar tone here so that all three of the actual rhythm tracks for this chorus part have a distinct tone that I can kind of work with, because then I want to move to maybe finding a piano part or a keyboard part that will work. So for this last particular guitar part, let's listen to it again. We'll mute the drums. Give us the loop, daddy-o. There we go. There we go. This has got my rhythm stabs. I'm pretty sure I remember hearing a sound in a very specific pack. Now again, in EZmix 2, you can scroll through all the actual packs that you have. I know that Jokke Skog, who's a very, very cool Swedish brother, did some amazing stuff in metal amps. So we're gonna come here and let's listen. Ooh, there we go. That for now. Okay, so now we have, again, some direction. It's not perfect, and it never will be until you make it perfect. But what we've accomplished in just a few short minutes, with really a divided focus. Imagine what we would get done if I didn't have to talk to you guys while I was doing it. Right? I know. So, with a little bit of time, energy, and effort on your part, you can get incredibly rewarding results very quickly. And songs can develop into things that you didn't necessarily think they could or would be. So let's take one more stab at this intro. We have some passable guitar parts now. I wouldn't say that I'm 100% sold on any of the tones, but they certainly help me envision where things might start laying. The drums I like, we've got a good bed there. I want to see if we can add some keyboards. Now again, I'm not a keyboard player, so I'm going to open EZkeys. Oh, hello. So, that's a technical difficulty. Remember we told you that this was live and there are going to be technical difficulties? And audio is probably clipping in and out and delaying, and maybe there's weird lines coming across the screen, and it's all par for the course. So don't worry, we're not going to go on very much longer. We don't want you to have to deal with trying to figure out who's saying what, or, just kidding, the audio's still working, giving the guys in the next room a little bit of a headache. So before Murphy's Law kicked in, we were about to kind of work with some piano parts. And ultimately, I think I've pulled a progression down. I know the song, because I wrote it, is in D, which is great. I know that the first chord is a G, right? I know then we have an A, then I know that we have a D, right? And then we have another A. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use my scissor tool and I'm gonna cut things off just like that. I'm gonna get rid of this, shorten it, boop. All right, let me just see. I'm gonna turn the volume up a little bit. What was that? I just put a piano part to this song, and again, in adding a vintage upright, I've changed the tonal balance and the sonics of the song completely. Wasn't even thinking about it, but quite honestly, that guitar tone, not bragging, because I didn't do it, EZmix 2 did it. But if you listen again real closely, you're gonna have to give it up because song, let's face it, that's pretty cool. It doesn't suck. So, and again, you're the artist. You obviously, you know what you played, you know how things went, and you can go in with EZkeys and you can change, obviously, through the chord wheel, not only just the chords, but the flavor of the chord. You can add all of your harmonic coloring, major sevenths, add nines. You can go up and do different inversions of the chord. So for those of you that don't know what an inversion is, people like me, when explaining inversions, generally pretend to play piano as if this will help you in some way. But if you don't know what an inversion is, you don't even know what I'm doing. I could be playing piano or massaging a long pierogi for all you know at this point in time. But no, an inversion would be a different chord structure fingering of the same chord. So instead of playing the G up here, you play the G down here, you can play the G up here. You can do all that in EZkeys, even if you don't know how. And that's the brilliance of working with a program that understands music. And I think that's really what we wanted to demonstrate tonight. Technical difficulties aside, jokes aside, everything we do at Toontrack is predicated on the fact that if it does not help your music sound better or help the process of making your music get better and even easier, then it's not worth making. So we're really, really sold on the products we have right now because we know we use them. I'm not just the guy that gets on with the beautiful beard that loves puppies and talks about Toontrack stuff. I use it every day. I use it for every musical project I have. I use it in my band personally, and again, those of you that have bands know how important your band is to you. My band is no less important to me, and I wouldn't sacrifice sound quality just because I happen to work for a company. These are real tools made by real songwriters for real songwriters. So it's hashtag I'm a songwriter. We're Toontrack. We've talked about adding things to your existing ideas. We've talked about coming up with ideas on the spur of the moment. We've talked about how 3 simple programs can facilitate all of this. So we've had some comments, some Twitter stuff, and we have a question that I'm going to actually address. I know you're all looking at me because I realized when I said we have a question that I must have looked surprised like, holy crap, there's a question. And I was, and I am, but we're going to get to it. We have someone on Twitter, on the Twitters, who's asking us, Veromix, at Veromix, are you guys making a new songwriting bundle? Hashtag I'm a songwriter. That's a great question. We recently, and by recently, I mean a few days prior to the taping and airing of this live shenanigans, released a couple of bundled products. And when I say bundled, I mean, for instance, EZdrummer. We have an EZdrummer 2 bundle that actually includes some expansion libraries with it that are genre specific to help you kind of be inspired there. And we did the same thing with EZkeys, where we have a couple of our sound expansions bundled with it so that you have some inspiration sort of bundled together. Right now, EZdrummer 2, EZkeys and EZmix 2 are all sold separately. They're all the same price. Here in the United States of America, the MAP price, or the manufacturer's advertised price, is $149.99 for each one of those products. You can get them anywhere great software is sold. And actually, if you get a chance to talk to anyone that's selling you software, put them through the paces. Ask them about the software. Ask them if they use it. Ask them if they have any recommendations. You know, Toontrack has created a number of products. So when you buy EZdrummer 2, it unlocks the world of 21 other unique recording environments that we've gone to capture sounds for EZdrummer 2. When you buy EZkeys, it unlocks several other piano melodic instruments, including what we call our mellow tune, which is a mellotron, but pianettes and Rhodes and grand pianos. I mean, there's a whole gamut of sounds available to you. And with EZmix 2, what we call our producer packs, or our EZmix 2 packs, ultimately, we take top-notch world producers and worldwide? No, that sounds like something Pitbull would say. World famous producers. How's that? People that basically most musicians would know. And we ask them to design presets for EZmix 2. So a lot of those amplifiers that you were hearing, a lot of the effects you're hearing are designed by people that do nothing but make music for a living every day. And that's the beauty of these tools. Again, they appreciate what we do because they use our products and they want to get involved, and we pass that on to you guys. So in saying all that, I'm checking my Twitters. Again, I have a whole other Twitter rig, if you will, over here. And now EZkeys to me. So we're getting some folks saying great things. This is at MacWriter. It's weird. I'm not going to lie to you. I know how stunningly handsome and youthful I look, but I'm actually older than you think. And dealing with Twitter is exactly like you think it would be for anyone of my generation. I feel like your grandfather right now as I go to my Twitter machine to try and read things with an ampersand or some sort of number sign in front of them. And I want you to know that under no circumstance would I ever do this for any other group of human beings other than you, because it's crazy. Anyhow, at MacWriter, it says, great webinar. Thank you. I own EZdrummer, EZmix 2, and now EZkeys. Thanks for making songwriting easier. He gets it. And I'm not saying you don't get it. I know you get it. That's why you're here. But we need you to understand how these things work so that you can spend hours, days, minutes, moments, whatever you have, however you have it, making music and not learning software. If it takes you more than 15 minutes to get a piece of software ready to use, or to even learn how to use a piece of software's basic functions, that software is not worth it. Our programs are designed to help you maximize your writing process. Again, you've watched me do some things that I would do on a normal basis, and I, again, can't speak to you strongly enough about how much more productive my writing and even collaborating with other people. You go from having what used to be sketchy demos to what sound like complete productions, all because you have the tools to do so. Very great stuff. I'm going to go and I'm going to check my Twitter machine one more time. It's my Twitter machine. You're waiting for another awesome Twitter rant, aren't you? It's not going to happen. You got one out of me. I'm sure this will be posted somewhere. Oh, we're getting some other stuff. Toontrack Rikk. Now this is from... You want to... It's almost like I have the grandpa glasses. I'm like, huh? At the... Who? It's at Christian Gaff. Toontrack Rikk. With which instrument do you start a song? Regards from Chile. Ole! I am a drummer, believe it or not. Normally, I'll start with EZdrummer 2 because rhythmically things come to me quicker. I'm also a guitar player, but with guitar, sometimes when I get an idea, probably like many of you, I literally have to teach myself how to play it before I can even act on it. And that's its own process. But I normally start with rhythm because once I sketch something out with EZdrummer 2, I then can go to an E kit, which we have in our other studio here, and then I open up Superior Drummer, because it is Superior Drummer, and I can play it and I can record it the way that I want to as it's done. But beyond a shadow of a doubt, I always start with EZdrummer 2, and I always do some crazy go through every single drum just to listen to it because I'm a glutton for punishment. And then the converse, if I am inspired and I do have a great riff or a great, like in the instance of this song, like I said, it just kept coming to me. I'll sit down and I'll record it direct, and I'll go through the exact same process I went through tonight with EZmix 2, just kind of going through amp settings. And again, even that process, as we were listening to amps, I'm going to close this on my screen because I'm tired of looking at it. It's like it's yelling at me. As you go through the different amp models with your dry guitar tracks, you learn how different amplifiers react to your pickups. So all these guitar tracks were recorded with my Gibson Flying V that I love, with PF humbucker, fantastic. And you get to hear how that actually responds to the amplifiers in EZmix 2, how it responds to what's been created. And that's different for every guitar. It's different for every pickup. It's different for every amp. So again, the options not only are limitless creatively, but there's an educational component. You know, the great thing about EZkeys, talking about education, is if I get out of this browser here, as you've written this progression, you don't have to transcribe what you've written now. You know you've got a G-A-D-A, right? And if I was to mute this and slow down EZkeys, for instance, so if I was to take the tempo of the project way down, which I'm not going to do, you can actually watch this being performed. You can teach yourself how to play what you just programmed. That's how people learn things. They see them, and then they imitate or duplicate them. And in the process of learning this, you're going to teach yourself other things that can be useful. And before you know it, EZkeys will be your starting off point because you'll be a better piano player. You'll only need it to start songs because you'll be able to go and replicate. That's pretty cool. And it's, you know, it's literally, if you're a drummer, it's the same thing with EZdrummer. As a groove is playing, you've got the visual. You see exactly what's going on here. You see snare, hat, kick, china, floor tom. The visual representation of what's happening in the virtual instrument is a great learning aid. Don't take it for granted. I'm going to take a couple more, and then I'm going to... Oh, crazy tweeter person at... I'm going to pronounce it right. It's totally wrong. It's probably both your names put together. Oh, Shane Eisenberg. At Shane Eisenberg 1. Is EZ bass player in the works? Question mark. So... every once in a while, I get to do these things where they actually let me out of my cage and I'm on camera for whatever reason, either pre-recorded or taped and then played and people, you know, comment underneath. I swear to you, every single time, no matter what I'm talking about, no matter how amazing my Queen orchestration of this brilliant rock masterpiece may be, someone asks me, is there going to be an EZ bass? If you've seen me in any of these situations, you know what the answer is. How much easier do you need me to make the bass to be? I'm not picking on anyone, but it's 4 strings and you can use your fingers. It's literally the equivalent of eating chicken, 4 chicken legs at once. That's it, 4, right? No, I tease. Bass is hard, right? The only reason to do easy bass is to make bass players that can't do complicated things, make it easier to do complicated things. But I wish I could tell you what we're doing, but if I tell you, that spoils the fun. And if the fun is spoiled, there's no point in going on. So I look forward to anyone asking me if we're going to do EZ bass on the next live broadcast. So put it in your hat, Twitter Rikk, tweet Rikk, whatever, you know, with the number sign, put it in there. Ask me again next time we do something live. Maybe I'll have a different answer. Let's see. Oh! Any way to turn a pre-recorded loop track into MIDI via EZdrummer 2, or am I starting over? And that is from at Damon1212. So I want to make sure that I'm answering the question correctly. I'm presuming what you're asking, good sir, in the Tweeterverse, is if you have a pre-existing drum loop. Now there's a caveat here, but let's talk about a loop. Generally speaking, when we're talking about a drum loop, it's audio. It's stereo audio that's been captured. So maybe it was a multi-track performance that was bounced down to stereo, but it's a loop and it can be expanded and it just plays over and over again. There is no way to bring an audio loop into EZdrummer 2 and convert it to MIDI. That would require a different type of program. Now, if you have existing MIDI grooves, drum MIDI that was not necessarily made by Toontrack, you can totally drag that into EZdrummer 2. It'll totally work in EZdrummer 2. Now, there's some caveats. There's a consideration that you need to keep in mind with MIDI, and it's called MIDI mapping. And without going to a long dissertation on MIDI and or mapping, very simply put, MIDI mapping is where the actual sounds line up on a keyboard, right? So for instance, if you have an 88-note keyboard, and it's chromatic, again, like we read from left to right, every time you're hitting a different key, you're getting a different drum sound. There was a standardization of that format for drums called General MIDI. Like the General, the little cartoon guy that sells you car insurance with the beard. Save General time. You know, maybe you don't have those commercials where you are. Maybe not in Chile. We have them here. They play during Judge Judy all the time. I see them constantly. It's phenomenal. But General MIDI kind of was set up to ensure that all of the drum components, or in any case that we're using General MIDI, that everything worked nicely with one another. Given the scope of sampling we do for our libraries don't always line up exactly to General MIDI. For the most part, they do. But we always have additional things. There's always more. There's nothing deeper sonically than a Toontrack drum sample library. So you may need to go into the piano roll editor of your DAW and remap some things because unfortunately in EZdrummer 2, because it's EZdrummer, there's no remapping function. You can't just do it in the software, you would need to do it in the DAW. Again, keep in mind, we have Superior Drummer where you could remap things in the software very easily, but EZdrummer 2 is kind of set up to work very specifically in these components of writing and early production. But quite honestly, more often than not, third party, which is MIDI, that we did not record Toontrack drum grooves, I've had no problem with them. I drag them into EZdrummer 2 all the time. So try it out. You may be surprised. Audio won't work. MIDI will. Okay. All right. I'm getting another question. I like that you guys are paying attention and you're actually asking really good questions. So this is not a last name I can pronounce, but I'm gonna tell you, guy whose name I can't pronounce, I'm sorry now, I'm gonna read your tweet anyway. Plan to create a library for metal, a VST guitar. Look, I'm gonna finish this coffee. I'm gonna finish talking to you folks. And that's about the only scope of knowing what's coming next that I have. I have no clue what's gonna happen with metal guitars, metal banjos, metal sousaphone, metal oboe, easy everything, right? As far as I'm concerned, anything that we put our mind and our hearts to as a company is gonna be useful to you as a writer. So it doesn't necessarily seem to make that much sense though, if I'm being honest, because if I could pick one area of music that has progressed massively, technically and proficiently, it's metal guitar players. The generation of metal guitar players that exist these days is insanity. You guys should pat yourselves on the back because it's very cool. But we're Toontrack. We're gonna keep doing stuff that people want and people need, so you never know. Best answer I got for you. Best answer. I'm gonna go through one more and then I'm gonna let you guys get some sleep. People are starting rumors. I love it. Any other questions, concerns, comments, anything you need to know about EZdrummer, EZkeys, EZmix? Here's something that you need to know. If you own EZdrummer 2 or EZkeys or EZmix 2, or maybe you only own one of them, maybe you don't own any of them, you should head over to toontrack.com and check out the demos. We have 30-day demo versions of the software that you can actually work with, play around with, and use to get inspired to see if it's gonna work right for you. I know what you're thinking, I do this for a living, so it was very easy for me to navigate the software. And part of that's true, but part of that is also it's easy to navigate the software because it's easy to navigate the software. And the best way to learn that is to try it yourself. So head over, www.toontrack.com, and check it out. Check out everything actually there while you're there. Look at everything, read through everything, kind of get an idea for what we have and what we do. Make sure you check out, we actually have a page at our website for songwriters, hashtag I'm a songwriter. We've got a lot of cool things going on. And we're really trying to put a focus and an energy into the songwriting community, and we want to hear from you. We want to hear back. That's why we're doing this tonight. That's why we're suffering through bad audio and cutouts and horrible questions about easy bass programs and all kinds of other stuff, just to make sure that you guys understand you're not alone. We're in this with you. So last question. Let's see what we've got. Okay. This is a good question. This is pretty cool. At Lake Songs is asking me, is there a fast way to export the MIDI track as separate audio tracks for each drum? So what he's asking is essentially, in EZdrummer, clearly I have this MIDI track. A lot of producers and artists and arrangers and everyone in our business, many of them don't like working with MIDI long term, meaning MIDI is okay in the earlier phase of writing or production, but once they get things solidified, they really want to work with audio. And I'm kind of that way too. I generally don't leave something hanging around in the MIDI universe for too long. So the question corresponds to, can I take this groove right now, and is there some sort of magic button inside of EZdrummer that will allow me to export or get out of EZdrummer 2 into a track or anywhere else all of the individual components of this drum sound? And the answer is no. That's a function that's available in Superior Drummer. It's our bounce function. When you're in your DAW, what you can do with this mixer is you can route every single one of your individual instruments to its own track, so that you can affect them, you can work with them as their audio, and then using your DAW's functions, you can go through and bounce each one of those tracks as audio. If we weren't working in Pro Tools and we just had EZdrummer 2 open, you could bounce your MIDI to a stereo wave file. So you could actually create a loop or stereo drum performance straight from EZdrummer that you could bring into your DAW. That you could do, but there is no function in EZdrummer 2 to export the individual drums from a MIDI performance, at least not now. So it's a useful tool, and again, if you're moving or working at that speed of production, you may want to check out Superior Drummer, because the answer to every question that starts with, does Superior Drummer do, is generally yes. There's a few things it doesn't do, like taxes and care about bass players, but it does almost everything else. Fair enough? And there will be another live broadcast where we kind of dive deeper into Superior Drummer as well, and I know you're not going to want to miss that because it is a unique tool in the Toontrack universe for both writers and producers. But great question. For all the things that EZdrummer 2 does do, again, guys, help us out. Keep in mind, it's EZdrummer 2. We didn't want to make it, Superior Drummer Junior. We still need there to be some delineation between the programs. And it's better for you as a writer too, I think, to have a set of tools and a palette that are specifically designed for writing in early stages of production. And that's really what EZdrummer 2 is. Okay, I keep saying last question, but man, there's a lot of them. I'm going to answer this one, which is he's asked twice. He's being patient, and I like it. And he's at The Real Elbow. Boom, he's The Real Elbow. I like it. His question is, what's your favorite EZmix setting for EZdrummer? I love the parallel compression preset. He's got a great point. When it comes to favorites, this is normally where I tell you, well, you can't pick a favorite because, it's like your children. And look, if I had multiple kids, I would pick a favorite kid. I'd pick them to the other kids' faces, and I would remind my favorite kid that he was my favorite every day. So I don't have that problem. I'm going to tell you what my favorite is. So if you come into my bus compressor here, my bus setting, my bus in Pro Tools, you can see that I just have a regular drum bus dynamics. That's one of my favorites. And what's cool is it has the parallel compression and it has a limiter as well. You can go in and you can see drums. It's in the drum toolbox. So the EZmix Pack drum toolbox, which is exactly what you think it is, tools for drums, is really useful. But there's another one, if you actually come into, and it's easier, just drums, we'll go to group bus. Let me find it here. Drum Shine. Again, this is in the mix toolbox. So Drum Shine is one of my favorites as well, because you have these two really kind of, very nondescript. You have Squash, which you're going to presume is compression, and you have Shine, which is some sort of function that's going to basically, when you think shine, sparkle things up. So we'll listen to the drum track with and without it. So here's without it. And then bring it down. Hear it? It's nice. And then if I squash it, all right, let's shine it up a little. With it. Shine. Right? You can picture Chris Cornell's like, drum shine, drum shine, drum shine. That's how you'll remember it. Soundgarden singing about EZmix 2 presets. I'm sure there's a lawsuit in there somewhere, but we'll just have to deal with it as it happens. Okay, guys, the Twitter machine is going to be put to bed for now. It's late. It's 7:20. We've been doing this for an hour and 20 minutes with one really bad technical error, which is fantastic, actually. That's pretty good odds. So, my name is Rick, and I can't thank you enough for joining me this evening, looking at some things, working with our songwriting software, working with some songwriting ideas. Hashtag I'm a songwriter. Go to www.toontrack.com. Make sure you check out everything. If you haven't tried the software, I would invite you to try it. I think it might change your musical life for the better. As always, you are important. We love and appreciate you all, and we look forward to seeing you again soon in the interweb and Twitterverse, and I'll get it figured out for next time, I promise. Until then, have a lovely and safe evening. If you're on the East Coast, stay warm. If you're in the West Coast, drop dead. It's warm. Big shout out to Glenn Brosenstein. Have a wonderful evening.